boys,
just
before
missed
we
it.
start this, let's keep it civil.
Oops.
Let's keep the debate civil.
Okay, Cam's been trying to start a fight all day. And,
No, I
we're
haven't.
not going to fight.
I do have some hot
Wow,
takes,
okay.
probably. So,
All right, let's talk.
Andor Season 2, Episode 10, dropped. Was it yesterday? Tuesday? No, two days ago. Let's go into these story beats real quick. We got Luthen Rail and Clea Markey are still operating from Coruscant, but are now in grave danger. Lonnie Jung delivers critical intel. The Empire's energy project is a cover for a weapon, an energy weapon. They don't really say it's the Death Star yet. Luthen realizes the time has come to burn everything down before they're caught. Let's jump into that story beat. How'd you guys feel about that whole scene?
That was dark.
Luthen.
I mean, Luthen played his hand. He's not a good person.
They killed this guy.
Yeah, they've hinted it a lot of times throughout the show that he's willing to do bad things for the rebellion. Sometimes it sounded like him being dramatic. Oh, I do bad things to fight bad people. You know what I mean? But he proved it. He did an evil act as one of his last things. And did it protect rebels? Maybe. I think it was too far. I think it was him panicking and doing the wrong thing. And
Why couldn't he bring the guy with it? I didn't understand that.
Because Lonnie knew that the ISB was right on his tail. You saw Luthen didn't even have a chance to get away. And Luthen, obviously, as we're going to talk about later, has a plan for himself. His instinct here was just burn everything. And unfortunately, that means killing, the probably the best agent, the best, hero, as he called him in season 1, that the rebellion ever had, without any thought. It was really dark, and it's a pretty big. We learned a lot about his character this episode through his backstories and through this action. We really learned that all these bad things he said he was doing, he probably was. And it's a pretty harrowing way to start what's his,
Andor follows suit right at the beginning of Rogue One. So
and obviously he's been training Andor under his wing, and that must be something that he impressed on him. And
here's the difference, though. I think Cassian is at his heart still a good person. He still cares about his fellow rebels, and he wants to, bring them along and make sure that they all make it. But Luthen, I really did not like his character at all, and I know it's probably that's the way it's supposed to be.
Nobody liked him. Like Mothma didn't even like him.
It's great watching him like as a character and being like, this is interesting. But he's. I don't think anybody's taking.
I wish it wasn't even a thing, because they're like attributing the whole rebellion to him, and I'm like, great. So the rebellion's built on like deceit and manipulation, and like even in his backstory, like he only, says that girl is his daughter when it suits him. Like he's just such a terrible person. And then to kill this guy, I mean, really, this guy stuck his neck out and put his life on the line to give him the info. And not only does he like not take care of him, he kills him. So I mean, like, what happened to good guys versus bad guys? Light versus dark. What happened to rebellions are built on hope? We're supposed to be rooting.
No, you got
people.
Saw Gerrera too, though. Wade.
His rebellion's built on revenge and hatred, and just the things that turned Anakin to the dark side. So I don't know. I really like that. This whole thing, it makes me irritated about the rebellion, honestly.
I think a good way to view it is he was never able to do anything real. He was able to move all this information, but he was always delegating to other people. And we see the real good people, the real heroes of the rebellion. I don't know if it was this episode or a later one in this arc. But like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and all the other rebel leaders, we see the real good guys and how much they share that feeling for Luthen. And of course, Andor, who's has history with him, kind of sticks up for him. Hey, he died for this, blah blah blah. But really, we see that he had no respect with the rebels themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that can kind of alleviate a little bit of your frustration with that. Is that even though he did slip them that intel that's going to save them, they still aren't really going to honor him because he doesn't really deserve it. They didn't really have a powwow at the end and say like, wow, Luthen really was fantastic. It's more like they were like, even Bail Organa, who we know is, the definition of good. I mean, the best of the best. He's like, don't like that guy,
Yeah.
So
I
I
just
think
didn't like how the episode, like at the very end, when he's sitting on the hospital bed, basically dying, and they just like linger on him dead for like way too long. Like I was not emotional there. Like I don't know what they were trying to do with that scene. Like just cut away. You know what I mean? Like I don't like this guy. He's just okay. He's dead. Good.
Well, I was kind of
Finally.
sad because I liked him in the first
Anyway.
season where his speech to this character Lonnie, where he's like, I fight for the sunrise I'm never gonna see. You know what I mean? Kind of talking about Andor's sunset, where Andor sacrificed
what
his
happened
life
to that
in
Luthen?
Rogue One. Andor got to see that sunset, which eventually Luke would see that sunset, with Leia and Han on Endor. Luthen wasn't there, obviously, but his character just does go down a pretty dark path for sure. Same as like Saw Gerrera too, which we'll get to. Let's get into story beat 2. The Empire is closing in. Dedra Meero and the ISB locate Luthen's gallery. Luthen greets Dedra with a knowing smile. His cover is blown. Instead of allowing himself to be taken, Luthen sacrifices himself with that blade, kills him, cuts himself, right, to protect the rebellion and destroys sensitive equipment. He destroys all the radios and stuff, right? So yeah, as we said, he's dead. He kills him. He's Dedra wants him alive to keep him alive for information, right? I mean, they didn't really say how she found out where he was. Apparently they were suspicious of him already.
They did. They said that they captured one of Saw Gerrera's people. Something like they captured somebody on Jeddah, and he said he was recruited by a guy who flew a Fonder
who had antiquities. That's right.
Antiques. So that's how she
right.
pieced it together.
Yeah, wild that Dedra like kind of was like going out of her bounds kind of to get this done. I didn't even realize. I felt that was kind of a little bit rushed a little bit. They should have kind of dived it.
Well, that was dumb. It was
they should have like dived into that.
I get that she kind of these things, like she goes and gets files.
Yeah.
She's not.
I would have liked to see that.
But that was just stupid. That was suicide.
I would have liked to see her. Sorry, wait, I can't. What'd you say?
I just said I think it was dumb of her because I think it
was
career suicide.
She was so obsessed with
access.
What was not even her desk anymore, and it's funny that it really just did happen with like a misdelivery of files because that's so real. But yeah, her keeping them and going after access herself is ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty wild.
You're right. That was career and probably personal suicide.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of that, like her like going way out of her league. You know what I mean? Because she's one of the best characters in this show as well. Just because she's all in, but she gets burned, which we'll talk about in a bit here. We get some flashbacks showing Luthen and Clea's first meeting. This mentor-mentee type parental bond, like Wade was saying. Scenes on Naboo. Well, yeah.
No, there's no
scenes on Naboo showing Clea
a soldier and a spy, and there's nothing really. I don't think caring there. It's all.
I mean, if you think about, it's all who Clea has, really.
Yeah, but she's growing up.
So she kind of feels that way
a little bit.
And
yeah,
we see that in the apartment that we're going to talk about. That she's so warped by him that she just can't even imagine going to talk to others.
Yeah, it's so funny that like the Yavin versus this, like the Coruscant spy craft going on is so separated from the actual Rebel Alliance. It's kind of funny to think about.
Well, and I think that was kind of to protect what made Wade a little hesitant was that the Rebel Alliance really are the good guys, And here you have Luthen who's doing really dark intel, and because of the way he does things, and we see this also with Saw Gerrera, the way he does things, the Rebel Alliance kind of says, we don't really want a part of it, Yeah.
Crazy. We saw Naboo though. That was wild. Like him blowing up Imperial ships on Naboo. That was kind of cool to see Naboo
on screen again.
Yeah. Luthen dies, of course, by her hand. So therefore, they can't get the information of where Yavin is. Basically, I'm assuming, right? We get some Imperial turmoil with Luthen and Jung dead. The ISB spirals into suspicion. Deidre is accused of treason, possibly by Krennic, who wants no distractions from Project Stardust, of course. The Empire scrambles to recover any remaining data from the destroyed gallery radio. Yeah, crazy. Krennic, really cool seeing him again, of course, you know. Stardust is... It's kind of interesting how it goes down the line, because I just watched Rogue One this morning as well, right after Andor. And I'm realizing they're like Moff Tarkin is super mad at Krennic, but in Andor, Krennic is mad at the people below him, you know, and it just like trickles down, you know, like all these people are getting in trouble, but then it's building up to where it's Krennic's fault, you know, it's Krennic's fault. He's in charge of the ISB technically, you know, wild.
That's kind of hilarious. Yeah. I didn't think about it like that.
So how'd you feel about that, Jake?
Yeah, it was. I was actually kind of worried going into the season that Krennic would steal a bit too much of the story. I didn't really feel like he needed to be in the show. But then the season, he was pretty much just a supporting character for Deidre's story. So I really liked that. That was how it resolved.
When they arrested her, dude, and he's like pushing her around, yeah. I was like, this is like gross. I don't know. He's just weird. He's just like he's a creepy villain. You know, he's just yeah. Wild.
Everything he said to her was totally deserved, though.
Oh, because she's like, you're basically a rebel because you're not living up to code, like the Imperial code. Crazy.
Exactly. Like she's rebelling against them, but for them, you know. But it just
when you're, and it's like almost protocol, like if you don't follow protocol, you're basically a rebel. You know, wild thinking there. You know, really smart writing. I think Krennic is the best. Like from from Andor to Rogue One. That's I feel I have some things which I'll talk about at the end, like the carryovers. Krennic is the most like his character flows really well from show to movie. So let's look. Cassian, Melshi, and K2SO are on Yavin 4 when a distress signal from Kleya reaches them. The trio races to Coruscant in their U-wing to rescue her. K2SO counting. He doesn't listen to their rules, right? He helps them at the safe house. They find Kleya instead of Luthen, and the Imperials are about to storm in. This is a good scene with K2SO taking them all out. That's the thing. If like they didn't have K2SO, they'd be screwed. Like all of these missions, like he's so OP.
Yeah, those droids are OP.
Because I noticed I noticed when he's like kicking people, after he kicks them, you can hear like the hydraulics kick back, and I'm like, geez, the force that he has, if there's whole hydraulics like pushing.
Yeah.
Deadly.
That might be like a plot hole. It's like if the Imperials were smart, they would not have stormtroopers. They would have all of these K2, these K2 units,
Yeah, well,
but they're probably expensive to manufacture. Who knows? But yeah. So we get that whole scene. They rescue Kleya. They get the information about Galen Erso. Classic setup right to Rogue One. And the they don't know it's called the Death Star yet because Cassian learns that in obviously Rogue One. Let's go into this next part. K2SO disobeys orders. We already said that. They head back to Yavin. The Alliance reacts. Mon Mothma and Bail Organa meet with other rebel leaders to discuss the Death Star. The room is filled with doubt and hesitation. It was cool to see all of those actors back from all the leaders. Jake, how'd you feel about seeing all those guys back?
Good continuity. Yeah, it was
for sure. Yeah. Cassian gives an impassioned speech defending Luthen's legacy, urging the council to take the threat seriously. It's like, hey, Luthen died for this information. Even though you guys didn't like him, we gotta listen. We gotta take action about this stuff, Yeah, Mon Mothma's on their side a little bit. She knows Luthen, obviously. So yeah, interesting. Is there anything else? What am I missing, Jake? There's a lot more.
From there, it kind of, they were going to rescue Kleya, and she didn't want to go. But they just had to get her out of there, and I think by this point they would probably went into the next episode because I think it just cut in the middle of that scene.
That's right. And so we get Cassian is dismissed. But he has made this point, hints to the future of Tivik, Kafrene, Saw Gerrera, stepping stones to Rogue One. Basically, his fate is sealed, but his hope lives on as well. What else happens here? I'm trying to My breakdown isn't fully. What else happens, Jake? I'm drawing a blank.
Like in the next episode.
Yeah, in the very last episode.
So
12.
when they brought her back to Yavin, and everybody's
Yeah.
upset because obviously they broke a lot of protocols and they don't know if it's safe. Yeah, and then it's really just a lot of character work there than just wrapping it up. Couple
Trying to kind of
conversations.
building the stepping stones into Rogue One.
Yeah,
like Major Padagast is killed. Nemix Mephisto plays over a montage of Rebel action. That was kind of cool. That guy's recording from the first season.
Yeah, and actually, when Major Partagas was listening,
oh man,
it sounded like he was maybe even taking it to heart a little bit. He was about to commit an act of rebellion.
Yeah.
So
dang.
It's and he could tell he was about to be.
He's like, why did I even do this? All this effort, and I have to kill myself now.
Yeah.
Wild. Because it was his fault. All the rebels getting out of there, Clea getting out of there with the information. From Lonnie. Pretty wild. Deidre is imprisoned in Narkina 5 facility.
Yeah,
dude, I wanted to see Kino Loy there. That would have been wild.
Yeah, her being imprisoned by her own system is a really fitting end, knowing that she's going to have to just slave away doing
forever.
What we've seen that they do there forever, as long as she lasts. And
until she gets out with the New Republic, the New Republic, like in the Mandoverse.
Yeah, and they try to they reform Imperials. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think we're probably ready to segue into what you had talked about, which was segueing into Rogue One. And I just wanted to say I really liked how they were able to provide like a final story beat for most of the characters that we don't see in Rogue One, and yet Cassian's story just keeps on going because we know what's going to happen next.
We get here. I got it written down. Bail says, "If I die fighting the Empire, I want to go down swinging. Our final shot is a peaceful field of Mina Rao where the next generation is hidden. The future of the rebellion, the son of Cassian Andor and Bix. Who is that baby?
I bet he's nobody.
I don't think it's Poe. Everybody's like Poe Dameron. It's Poe Dameron. I'm like, no, it's not Poe Dameron.
They've invested a lot into Poe's parents as characters in comics, anyways. No, but I think it was really just to say it was a final image of I burned my life for the sunrise, blah blah blah.
That was Cassian's victory at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Cassian doesn't know it, but he saved the world for his son. Pretty bittersweet. But
I did feel kind of weird that he kisses. Why does he kiss what's her name? Jyn Erso. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, okay, maybe he's like imagining it's Bix
at the end of Rogue One.
Yeah, don't they kiss?
No.
Yeah, they do.
No, they embrace, really.
Oh, they embrace. They don't kiss.
No.
Sure?
And honestly, I think kind of the intention was, Jyn Erso is almost a little sister-like, and we see him dreaming of his sister again too.
I gotcha.
And that's another thing for him.
They should have showed that clip, maybe. I don't know. That's really interesting.
So I think it's a bit more of a sibling thing, and I think that's why they brought the imagery of his sister back was to he will find a sister in the next week, and
Dang, it was kind of depressing seeing Mon Mothma's husband just with like a random chick. Just like in a car drunk. I was like, what? Like, I feel like, why didn't he get any repercussions? That's interesting. I guess maybe they were already divorced.
Honestly, showing the way on the look on his face and the way he was drinking made it look like, he still had the weight of the world on him. You know what I mean? He was just sitting there like 1,000 yards, vacant, empty, probably confused, so it's interesting to see. I was happy they showed that, even if it was just a little moment of how maybe life is going to go on for him, but how weird it is.
Yeah, I know. Wade has some different. I'm more mixed on the season. I loved season 1. I think season 1's a little bit better for me personally. Jake, I don't know. Maybe you like season 2 a little bit better.
I think they complement each other. I can't really put one over the other. I think they're all part of the same piece.
I think just the Kino Loy stuff was like so good. I was just like blown away by that whole sequence. But there's some things that so I watched Rogue One after, and I felt there was a little in my brain. It was kind of weird, like seeing some things. Like for one, obviously they had to recast Bail Organa, but I know Jimmy Kravitz or whatever his name is. He's
Smits.
pretty old. Jimmy Smits. He's pretty old now, and he had some scheduling conflicts. So I guess it wouldn't have. I know it wouldn't have flowed. Maybe because he is getting older as well. But I felt like that was kind of interesting, just seeing Bail Organa go back to his original
Back to a different person.
actor, which is it felt very like Better Call Saul, where they're like old, young.
Yeah.
It's like okay. And then also I felt like it was kind of strange that like the whole Andor show, the Rebel Alliance is like really angry at Andor the whole time. Like they're like you're going out of like you're not supposed to be doing this. And then in Rogue One, they're like, this is Cassian Andor, the head of our rebel intelligence, and it's like, what? He's like, fine now? I know it's just because it was written at different
part
times.
Of that too might be he comes back from that mission where he kills the informant and he confirms everything that
everything that Luthen said. Yes.
So I think all the being mad about him might just be them being like, okay, drop it, it's go time. Like here's Andor.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about the show, Jake, or anything that really stood out to you?
I'm really
kind of sad it's over. I wanted more.
Yeah, I'm emotional that it's over, but I'm happy it's ending when it's legit. When it never compromised itself. It just I don't think we'll ever see like anything like it again. It was a prestige show of the best quality.
It's so. Why is the quality so good, dude? It's like you see Coruscant in this, and then you see Coruscant in like Acolyte, and it's completely different. It's like night and day visuals.
It's the philosophy of the production. Coruscant in the Acolyte or the Mandalorian or something like that. They're filming in the volume. Coruscant here, they're filming in Italy at some sort of like modern art complex, and then just superimposing stuff on the background. So they're actually filming outside in the sun.
So cool.
And they're just the reason it's so much better is just they put so much work into it. That
the effort is there. Yeah,
the effort is really there, and from everything, the acting, the writing, everybody just knows exactly what they're doing and brought their A game. And I was just going to say it makes me sad because I don't think we'll see anything like it again. Kind of this marriage between really deep prestige TV and Star Wars, which is something that sounds like it would never work, but it really did.
Wade, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We kind of broke it down completely.
Did you already get to the last episode?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We don't need to talk about it again. My internet crapped out. No idea how that happened. Sheesh.
Well, Wade, do you have any final thoughts going into that, Wade?
Yeah, my final thought is the last scene, obviously. They did the same thing as they did with Luthen. They lingered on that way too long. Like, okay, yeah, he's got a son. I get it. Like, I'm not super emotional about it. Like, it
enjoy the moment, Wade.
Ridiculous. My other problem is now I am more sad about his death in Rogue One, and they didn't need to do that. Like, I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I don't like that. Okay, he's got a son too. Like, oh great. Now it's even more tragic. So anyway, that was my problems with it.
Nice.
Other than that, K2SO, he's great. He's probably the standout in these last few episodes. But
my question is, I understand. Like, it's a good show and it's really great quality, but why Andor? Like, I don't care about him that much,
Well, and he was barely part of it, really. I mean, he did some cool stuff in it. Don't get me wrong. Like the Mon Mothma.
He is like the go-to guy. He gets the people out always, and he always gets the job done.
Group of rebels, basically. It was just earlier kickoff rebels.
I see the inconsistency between all the other Disney Plus shows, and this is so well made. We've already talked to death about this. Obviously it's because Tony Gilroy, he loves good quality. He's going to do the best he can do. No volume, real sets. That's how they should look at all of Star Wars, I think. Honestly. It makes me upset about Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett. I don't know.
Yeah, they should take notes for sure
They definitely should.
on the production.
The production, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, so we got
we
some
good?
different opinions, but that's okay. You know, Star Wars is subjective. Jake likes the sequels. You know, I like the prequels, which are argumentatively sometimes bad and terrible. So, but I love them. You know, everything's
This show
subjective,
just
right,
was
guys?
too far on the like adult stuff. I know I talked about this before. Like I think
Yeah,
it should have been more centered to be, you know, like the magic of Star Wars and the kid friendly aspect of it. You know.
I think
So.
they're thinking like Star Wars is time to grow up with its audience. You know, they can
That's
have
fine,
best of
but
both
I
worlds,
don't know.
maybe. You know,
Wait,
we
my
got
argument
Skeleton
there is-
Crew over here, and you got super
Exactly.
kid friendly, super adult friendly. They're trying to reach all audiences, which I understand.
And it's not like they made like episode 10. Like here it is, the official continuation, and they made it like super like gritty and dark like this. You know, I mean, this is a prequel to a prequel.
I get it, but I think all Star Wars should be that way, like so all encompassing audience. Like I will not be showing this to my children until they're way older, and so I think that's a problem. But just my opinion.
It's just how it is. All right,
Are we good?
guys, are you guys okay? Don't fight.
No, we're
I got
fine.
a Band-Aid.
Ew.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.